Hello, everyone, and welcome to Smart, Savvy, and Social Democratizing Content Creation for the Next Billion, presented by Your Story in association with Akamai. Today, we deep dive into the latest generation of video first platforms that are shaping India's social media landscape. My name is Madan Mohan Rao, Research Director at Your Story Media. And on behalf of all of us, I'm going to be the moderator for this session and I welcome you all to a very good discussion up ahead. As you all know, falling prices of smartphones and data have democratized access to the internet and, in turn, expression through social media. With this, a new generation of video first social media platforms has emerged that are accessible in a variety of vernacular languages. They have taken the country by storm. Your Story has recently published an in depth report on this phenomenon in association with Akamai. Do check it out. Getting a first hand understanding of this exciting landscape, its features, opportunities, and challenges is the objective of today's panel session, navigating India's evolving social media landscape. To take this conversation forward, we have with us a panel of industry leaders who are boldly heading in new directions with their offerings. Let's begin now with introducing Vikas Malpani. Hello, Vikas. Vikas is the co founder and CEO of Leher App. He is a serial entrepreneur with more than 15 years of experience in software development. He had a stint with SAP earlier and founded two ventures before joining Leher. He is an advisor and angel investor to a number of startups, including An Academy. Welcome aboard, Vikas. We also have joining us Shivank Agarwal, the co-founder and CEO of Mitro TV on this panel. He is an alumnus of IIT Roorkee and also a serial entrepreneur. He earlier had a stint with Make My Trip and he co-founded two ventures before coming up with the idea for Mitro TV in June 2020. Welcome, Shivank. Up next, we have Brijesh Kashyap, the founder of Mini Life. Brijesh has spent several years working with mobile messaging solutions, providers, and co-founding messaging services before enabling short video media app Mini Life this year. Welcome aboard, Brijesh. Also joining us today is Alan Abraham, CEO and co-founder of SquadCam. Welcome, Alan. Alan is a serial entrepreneur. He earlier co-founded an AR and mobile development company before coming up with SquadCam. This is a social and chat sharing platform launched in 2018. Welcome aboard, Alan. We also have with us Rohanesh Kar, who is the pre-sales leader for the media and carrier division for India at Akamai. He is a professional with over 11 years of experience across many verticals. Rohanesh and his team have worked with customers to identify and architect technical solutions for complex problems in the OTT, publishing, social media, and gaming verticals. He is also part of the leadership team at Akamai that is responsible for accelerating growth and defining the go-to-market strategy for India and SAARC. Welcome aboard again to Vikas, Shivank, Alan, and Brijesh. Now,
Right.
my first question to each of you is we've come a very long way in the past few years. Last year was a terrible year in terms of the COVID crisis, but now we are in a new year, a new decade. So, where do you think your business has come to this particular stage today? What has been your journey like? Let's begin with you, Vikas. Vikas?
Yeah. Hi. Thank you. Thanks for having me first here. Uh, the journey has been very exciting. We have been building Leher to democratize discussions on audio video. Idea is that everyone has a voice. We have been consuming a lot of content, and with the democratization of access to internet, enough people are getting access to enough information. So when you consume information, the next step is to have conversations about that, right? And that's what Leher enables. Through our journey of last over 2 years, what we have seen that um, business-wise, people are becoming more and more open to sharing what they feel, sharing what they know, and kind of also educating people about their perspective on various things that are happening in the world. So there is an upheaval if you look at all social media, ground up. More and more people are becoming kind of a content creator, generator, thought leader in whatever geography they are or whatever their specialization is. And Leher enables them to have deep, meaningful conversations around that. So we see that this is going to be a decade of 5G and mobile, which will which will predominantly be audio video driven around your interest, and there will be entertainment definitely, but there would also be a big space for conversations where Leher stands. And looking forward for the decade to get started. Already the winds are in the right direction for us.
Thanks so much, Vikas. Thanks for mentioning 5G. I was going to ask that later on in terms of what trends you see in the market. But let's turn to Shivang now. Shivang, what is your story and what's your outlook for the year and for the decade?
First of all, thank you so much for having me here. And I second Vikas, thoughts that it has been a year of boon for video creators. And what we have seen this year, a lot of creators has just moved out of their comfort zone and they are just sharing their views and opinions at very peace. And so that's social, aspects being exposed to the outside is being removed this year. So I think it's very good for the creators as well as the platforms for us, because we have seen thousands of creators have flocked to space like us, and I think there's a good year for us, and we should be building a good technology. That's last one year we have launched, Mitro during the pandemic. 11th of April was a day when we launched our first version. So yes, the journey has been fantastic for us. A lot of creators and consumers has associated with us. We have built a team from 2 people to now we have 70 people in that team. So yes, technology has taken the front seat for us. Technology is a basis for us, and we look forward to the next decade. What we see is the next decade would be for the content creators and content space.
Thanks, Shivang. Thanks for the very optimistic note. I like the way you use the word fantastic. How about you, Alan? Would you say the future is also fantastic for you this year and for this decade, Alan?
Yeah, definitely. So I'll talk a little bit about SquadCam first. SquadCam is a private social media. So as we know that we interact with our friends and family a lot, but there is no proper social media in that space. We still use chat applications for those kind of communication and stuff. But so that's where we come in. We wanted to create a social media in that space, which is much utility oriented and also much fun to use. And moreover, there is a difference we can see among those users, because they are, since we are very close to each other, they would like to share more, have open conversations, etc. So that's where SquadCam is. And this year, so we just launched the app last year, so we are still gathering the initial growth. This year, we are expecting it to grow much larger, because we have almost made the technology, etc., very stable. And the decade, so one of the feature we have is like continuous talking or continuous video sharing with friends, family, etc. So that's where I think next decade will be like we will be sharing more and more or continuously with our friends without maybe disconnecting. So that's what I see in next decade from a video sharing point of view.
Thanks, Alan. Let's turn to Brijesh now. Brijesh, how about you? Is this a good year for you also coming up ahead? Brijesh?
Yeah, Madan, definitely the things are going to be changed. We were into mobile messaging, still we are doing. We have seen the entire global market when we used to visit, MWC, last year in spite of, the COVID, we traveled. We have seen the things are, very large. The things are getting, changed. So we thought of let's do something where, we can enter into B2C market. We are already into B2B market, the brand called Mob Texting, and we are doing quite well. So we thought of trying here with the brand called Mini Life. This came during COVID period only. This idea, let's do something here, and in between, we thought of governments is started banning couple of Chinese player. So this is how we started, and we are thinking it's going to be very good.
That's good to hear, Brijesh. Let's do another round of more specific questions for each one of you now. I'm going to begin with Vikas. Vikas, what are the key factors concerning growth in your sector? How do you keep users? How do you prevent them from leaving? And how do you get a new bunch of users? How are you capitalizing on this growth in your particular sector? Vikas?
So actually, there were three questions. I think, if I'm right, there were three separate questions there, not just one. So first and foremost, the key factors for us had been that will people come and have open conversations? And just because of the social media went, we suddenly have arrived there where people understand conversation, audio, and video are going to be the next big thing. We certainly have been the biggest social media player coming there. So that validates for us. So it's great for us that people understand, look, next social media network is going to be built on conversations and not just purely consumption. So that's working great for us. For us, the growth constraints are limited to our ability to reach out to enough people and showcase the product, which is much superior because we have audio and video both possibilities, and we let end user decide what kind of conversations they want: public, private, recorded, non-recorded, audio, video. So it's more about market education, getting the right mind share, and that's what we are working on predominantly on the growth side of things, and trying to leverage the fact that we are trying to build the first global social network from India. No one has ever done that before. So it's a very hard thing, but we are not constraining. And so when we decided to build Leher, we said India has already leapfrogged US or the other Western markets in the terms of mobile. We have leapfrogged to mobile directly. We have one of the fastest and the widest 4G network, and we are the highest consumer of data on mobile phones already. So if we use this as our strength and build from India first, we would have a net market that is already native to this experience, and we can take this experience global by building from India first. So this is the first opportunity ever where we could actually think India first and build a product which could be going global. So we are using that leverage. Definitely, there are definitely a lot of challenges in the terms of anyone who's in the video audio space. They definitely have a lot of challenges on the cost on the server sides, specifically as with growth, you have more pain. That is how it's actually happening. Without growth, you already have pain. With growth, you have more pain. So how do we see this changing is one of the predominant thing that we will have. Yes, we welcome all growth. We are looking to grow fundamentally into those sphere of users who really value what we are doing, where conversations could really connect people and we can really increase the empathy on the world. And this could happen at very, 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 very small level at a Gaon, Taluka level to at a very global level where people from India are talking across the globe and having an understanding of why someone thinks the way they think. So all these opportunities are here, but yes, there are some technology challenges, perception challenges, and overall growth plans that we will have to solve for.
Thanks, Vikas. I noticed your t-shirt says "Start a Wave." I think that's a very appropriate t-shirt for your company. Bravo. Let's turn now to our next speaker, Shivang. Shivang, you have some very impressive numbers on your side. You've clocked over 5 million downloads on the Google Play Store within 1 month of your launch in June 2020. Tell me one thing, how do you manage scale and also keep quality at the same time? A big challenge is as scale comes very quickly, it's hard to maintain that quality. So how are you juggling quality along with scale? Shivang?
Sure. I think it's a very good question, and it's always said in the startup world, sustainable growth is always more important than abrupt growth. So we witnessed that first 2 months we have abnormal growth, and we are just 2 people on the team. So yes, a lot of scalability issues has arose in the early two months of the launch. But the good part was since we have seen early growth, we did put a lot of effort on building the technology team as well as on the technology itself, so as to ensure that growth should not be a limiting factor for us. Backend should not be a limiting factor for us. It should always enhance us. So that's one thing. Of course, what we have seen is now we have completely scaled our backend so as to ensure that a lot of scaling issues doesn't come, as well as we have seen securities issues that has come in early couple of weeks of a launch. So yes, on security and scalability has been a lot of focus. You have asked good 2 questions from Vikas, like the growth as well as retention of the users. So short video space has witnessed that growth has never been an issue, because post the TikTok ban, though we have launched pre the TikTok ban, but post the TikTok ban, there has always been the gap that has been created, and users were flocking to one of the short video space. But the industry has realized that retention becomes very important. The user engagement becomes very important for short video space, and for that, a couple of metrics that we have been tracking, like how many videos are getting created via our editor tool versus getting directly uploaded from outside. So when we started, it was 0% upload creation is happening on the platform to now 70% of the videos being created on the platform. So that's a good journey that we have covered. Apart from that, what we see is how well you are able to buffer the content. So yes, we have seen initially like 5% was a completion rate for us because buffering was an issue for us, and we solved that problem. So yes, technology becomes a very important pillar to content space, especially when you are doing videos. So yes, a journey covered 10 months, but still a long journey to travel.
Thanks, Shivank. Good to hear your growth story over there. Now, Rohanesh, my question to you is, we're hearing a lot of our speakers over here today talking about scale. Now, scale and growth is one thing in the big cities, but when you talk about India, there's a huge amount of growth happening now in tier 2 and tier 3 cities where internet speeds and connectivity may not be up to the mark as what we experience here in the big cities. So, how are you as Akamai ensuring that all players like the ones that we have on this panel are able to keep the quality user experience even under conditions of poor bandwidth? Rohanesh?
Thanks, Madan, for bringing me in. I agree with Shivank. He did make a point that technology is a great enabler for a platform like videos or short form videos, right? And on the Akamai side, we've always been focused on delivering a delightful digital experience for all our customers who use the platform, right? However, our model is a little different. And we've always realized the fact that the majority of growth for application or video providers in India is going to come from tier 2, tier 3 cities. We saw that happening for OTT, let's say 2 or 3 years back. That was the trend where the major growth came from tier 2, tier 3 cities. And we're seeing something very similar for short form video apps as well, right? So we plan for that in advance. Like if you look at how Akamai operates, instead of having like super clusters in 2 or 3 metros in India, which is good from a coverage standpoint, we've actually gone ahead and deployed a hugely distributed network across 47 cities in India, right? With major focus on cities, and I'm going to take examples of cities like Nagpur, Vizag, Vishakhapatnam, Patna, because these are also areas of India from where you see a lot of people accessing these applications, consuming content. So the model we've gone with is deploying a distributed network where the idea is you're like one step away from the user, right? So if a user is posting something on the Leher app, like the server that he's going likely to hit is in his city itself versus actually going all the way back to a cluster in one of these metros. And the idea has always been that as close you get to the end users, the better performance you're able to provide to that end user. So that's been our motto or main principle of actually building out our platform.
That's very impressive, Rohanesh. Sorry. That's very impressive,
Sorry.
Rohanesh. You're going to so many dozens of cities across India. That's very good news, I'm sure, for all our speakers. Let me turn now to Brijesh. Brijesh, what's the role of user feedback in your services? It's being said that founders have their own vision, but sometimes they don't listen to what the users are saying. So in your case, how do you tune into what the user wants, and how is this helping you keep the users because you give them what they want? Brijesh?
As of now, we are moving very slowly. We are just, 14th of last month, January, we launched. It was launched by, we have appointed a brand ambassador, Mr. Ravi Kishan, who is a MP of Gorakhpur. I belong health from Gorakhpur only. So we were discussing certain things, then it started. As of now, we are going very slow because, we are facing the challenge in terms of, streaming the video part, which Rohanesh has, almost discussed about that. And I believe that, when you solve this problem, when you have quality, streaming, that will definitely, lead for the better user, acquisition and then retention. Other side, you see that smaller cities, like they have very less speed, less connectivity, which is almost, that will definitely solve if we are moving towards that direction.
Thanks, Alan. Thanks, Brijesh. My next question now is for Alan. Alan, we keep hearing a lot of these big numbers about India. India has 760 million smartphone users. That's the number that's going to be reached in 2021, etc. But at the same time, India is many Indias. There are so many cultures, languages, and so on. So what are you doing to try to maximize, on this big number while also addressing the needs of different cultures and languages at the same time? Alan?
ScotCam as an application is not trying to get into different cultures or regions as such. So we try to tap that a set of people who are like more towards their family or friends, etc., rather than getting into regional culture areas. But still, I believe for any Indian application or any platform which is focusing on India, we should have local understanding of local languages, or support should be there in local languages, or the culture should be the different cultures we have in India should be addressed. The needs of each culture should be addressed properly. So that's what we don't want to get into that area. Still, we want to have those things in our app. For example, we would like to add different languages in our app, but still we don't want to create local content or want to focus on locally created content.
Thanks, Alan. Let's turn now to another important issue. We've talked so far a lot about scale and numbers and traffic and number of users and so on. Let's turn now to monetizing now. Brijesh, my question for you now is, how are you monetizing this traffic that you have? They say that India's digital advertising industry is going to grow up to 28,250 crores or something like that by 2022. So this is a great chance for monetizing and getting revenues. What is your strategy for getting some of this advertising revenue?
As of now, our focus is to just scale up and let us see how it's going to be rewarded. And as of now, our major focus is to go ahead with the regional contents. Why we starting with the regional content? Slowly we'll go with the region, we'll establish ourselves, we'll get the number of customers, number of users, then slowly we move to other part of the country. So this is how we are going to do. Monetization will take one step ahead post, doing the huge number of acquisition. So that is what we are trying to do. If you see the entire content consumption of India is approximately 1.2 billion users are there, approximately consisting, Facebook, WhatsApp, YouTube, Instagram, and Twitter. So the market is huge, the potential is huge, monetization will come later. As of now, we are just putting the efforts to make it best.
Got it. Thanks. Now, another big question that has come up over here is the whole question of security and privacy. Now, data privacy and security are bubbling up as a big concern in India these days, as you can see in the news almost every other day. So, Rohanesh, my question for you is, Akamai is also known as a very important player in this security space, and the company is working with over 50 social media platforms globally. But there are security risks around not just the financial transactions, but also the user data and the app itself. So, what is your take on the kinds of vulnerabilities out there? What should the founders in a panel and other founders like them do to make sure that they're players in social media, but also keeping an eye on security and privacy? Rohanesh?
Madan, I mean, if you notice, like Shivank already spoke about security, Brijesh also spoke about security. So clearly there is already that growing consensus that security is supremely important for ensuring that your application is being used in the right fashion, right? And for us, what we've noticed that in the last 12 months, through COVID, right, while COVID acted as that step function increase for all short form video platforms, right, they saw enormous growth on their platforms. The time period also gave, let's say hackers or unsocial elements to also utilize that time to figure out new ways to actually create disruption, right? So in today's world, data breaches have become really common, and data breaches happen because of a vulnerability from within the organization or from within the company. Because you, irrespective of how much you sort of train or educate your employees, you can't really stop them from clicking on a link that they should not be clicking, or being part of a social engineering attack. It's very difficult to sort of protect from that, right? Which is why you see a lot of these data breaches happening. Now, as far as Akamai is concerned, the top four attacks, or the top four forms of cybersecurity attacks that we see very commonly are data breaches, DDoS attacks, and bots that are basically acting as a legitimate user when they're not, and using up resources that should ideally be used by an actual user, right? So there is a lot of work that needs to happen to ensure that you layer up your defense to protect your applications across all of these, right? Some of these have been there for a while, like protecting yourself against a DDoS attack or an application layer attack is something that a security engineer would definitely understand how to do. The challenge is not in capability, the challenge is in capacity, right? I'm sure that all engineering teams take security into focus, right? But sometimes it's a matter of capacity. For instance, if you're facing a DDoS attack, and a DDoS attack these days can run into like 1 or 2 Tbps worth of bandwidth, right? You're just running out of capacity to protect your application. That's where a cloud provider like an Akamai comes into picture, because you don't have to sort of deal with that attack at that point of time. We are dealing with it way ahead of your origin infrastructure, right? Similar issue with bots as well. There are multiple ways in which you can trick a bot or identify a real user from a bot, right? There are open source libraries available. So I don't think it's a matter of capability there. It's a matter of, again, capacity. Do you have the bandwidth to actually deal with them on a day-to-day basis? Or would you leave someone like an Akamai to deal with them? Because we do that on a daily basis. Like 30% of the world's internet flows through us. We see these attacks out there in the open world, right? So for us, it's easy for us to learn from that and put those mitigations in place for our customers so that they don't have to worry about handling that.
Thanks, Rohanish. You've listed out all the different kinds of threats, but also given us reassuring advice that these can be handled. Let me ask our speakers now how they're handling these kinds of privacy and security issues. Let's begin with Vikas. Vikas, what are some issues you're facing? How are you tackling all these possible consumer concerns about data breach and security? Vikas.
So yeah, we are using some of the industry tools already available, as well as our engineering has this like checklist of things that they need to do to ensure that these kind of things don't happen, right? So there is no guarantees in the security world, but there is always the best preparation you can do. And one of the big challenges that we also face is that we are very active development. We are like literally throwing out code every day. So it becomes a lot of the challenges also about ensuring that what you put out there doesn't break things. And that's where major security challenges generally end up happening. And as you scale the team, that will again have another set of challenges, because the whole the way the code was written earlier, the knowledge of that code is a limited number of people. And if you add new people, it becomes hard to translate that knowledge into multiple people. So there are ways which we protect. So if I have to enumerate, yeah, look at the industry best practices, have a checklist of things that you do before you send out code, have a proper KT process in place. Theoretically, all of this should prevent the possibility, but there's always loophole, because it's always about speed when you're a startup, right? You break things and move forward. So that's where we are right now. We are trying our level best to do things, try to use best industry practices and tools, as well as trying to educate our team on why security is important. Given that we are also working in an environment where we are literally working from home, we are just trusting our people really well.
Thanks, Vikas, for reminding us how these issues are very important. As more and more of us continue to work from home, digital will be a very big platform going forward, and security is a big concern. How about you, Shivang? What are some measures you're taking to address security, privacy, and such issues, Shivang?
Yeah, so for us, there are two things. One is, using the best practices of infrastructure, that you're using, right? So that's one thing. And for that, we need to ensure that there is any DDoS attack from any IP, that risk, we have configured in the rules of the infrastructure provider that these should get blocked immediately, right? There are things that we need to do at our end. For example, impersonation is very a big issue for us. If user can impersonate others and can get the whole data of that consumer, that becomes a very big issue for us. So for every new launch, every new feature that we bring in live, we ensure we do proper risk mitigation test for that, to ensure that what all ways of getting it hacked should be known to the team. The other thing is developers are educated continuously on how to improve their coding practices so as to ensure that some of these low-lying risk areas should be looked upon. We do have a dedicated team of security at the infrastructure level that ensure that none of the code as well as the database is exposed to the outside world without uh, outside of the application. And so yes, overall, and we also did a couple of rounds of audits of the security as well. So we do keep a practice that every quarter we need to do audit on security. So yes, a lot of things, but ultimately, as Vikas said, there's nothing like foolproof. You have to move forward and see, like you have to move ahead of the hackers. So of course, they are also advancing. You have to advance yourselves as well.
Thanks, Shivang. That's a good set of practices you just described, including the audit. How about you, Alex? What are some good practices you are rolling out for security and privacy? Alex? Yes.
So I'm a big fan of Toyota, how they implement the processes, yeah, etc. So I try to add in the sense we get from the other companies or other industries to our company also. We even though the bandwidth is very low, we make sure that a certain time of or certain time period is allocated to this kind of things like privacy, security, etc. Because we are looking at the long term rather than a short term growth. So instead of trying to grow very fast, we try to limit the growth to a certain level so that we can control the type of usage which is happening. If there is any flaws, we can address the issues before we go ahead with the other development or other the growth related activities.
Thanks, Alan. How about you, Brijesh? What are some of the steps you are doing for security and privacy?
See, we are already handling billions of messages in a month, and it has been a bit challenging when we see across the globe. So we have faced many challenges past couple of years, but same time we have taken a precaution. We have taken third party, other companies help, and then we are managing well as of now.
Thanks, Brijesh. We now come to our last set of questions. I'm going to ask each one of you what some of your future plans are with respect to what technology can do for you. All of you have launched digitally. You have a fantastic tech stack in place. You are scaling up to millions of users. In future, going to the steps ahead, what are some key challenges that you think technology will solve for you? What technology advantage can give you? Vikas, how about you?
I think technology can fundamentally change the way people connect, right? And what we are looking at 5G and dropping prices of data and dropping prices of server side. If the server costs keep dropping the way they are, the way they should be, we would have as someone was mentioning, an always live ability to connect with people on video and not really have to even step out of your house to meet people, right? So yeah, definitely advancement of your mobile technology, data capacity on mobile servers, um, as well as an ability to do better verification of users. In our case, one of the big challenges that we also see is the quality moderation, because we are talking, it's no longer uh, purely entertainment, right? So any entertainment technically could be anything, right? But when you're talking about conversations, there has to be a certain level of quality. There has to be a certain kind of people that you want to meet, etc. Right? So how do we ensure that we are able to run algorithms which can help people connect better? How do we moderate wrongful speech, wrongful content in the conversation? So these are key challenges that we are looking for the technology to solve, where we think predominantly a combination of the visual AI and the audio AI, combine that with the ability of using the signals from algorithms to continuously keep learning is going to really help us solve for these problems.
How about you, Shivang? Where do you see technology helping you in the future for your service and for your users, Shivang?
So what we have seen the last decade has been more about the infrastructure and deploying anything on the fly has been made very easy thanks to the companies like Akamai. The next decade, what we see is more about making things easier. It's not out of the box currently. So, for example, We talk a lot about the AI and everything, but deploying AI at ease so that even a startup can use it on the fly still we are not at that point. So, for example, video moderation is a difficult job, right? Especially in a sensitive country like India, and then you have so many languages, cultures in India, right? How to map the right content to the right consumer. So yes, a lot of AI has to be put in India because we are so different from each other. So yes, I think AI has to play a very big role in India in the decade to come.
Thanks, Shivank. So, Alan, we just heard about AI and how important AI is going to be in this space. What's important for you and how can technology help you solve those issues? Alan?
Yeah, so first of all, so we are very fortunate to be starting in India because we have a very big market out there, a lot of internet users and a lot of mobile smartphone users. So that's a bigger advantage each one of us are having, even though we started late. So, but one of the major problem which we all were facing was the internet speed. Even though we are getting at cheaper rates, but the internet speed compared to other parts of the world, we were much lagging. Maybe 5G or technologies after that will change that really the entirely different fashion. So that is something which we looking and. The second part is that we are not only looking at the video or audio sharing part, maybe different type of sharing will also come. Maybe the AR, VR technologies, etc., will also come into play. All those things also we are looking into.
Thanks, Alan. How about you in your case, Brijesh? What are you looking at and how can technology help address some of your future plans? Brijesh?
Yeah, Madan, without technology, nothing is possible, right? So everything you cannot build yourself. Today we talk about cloud. If there is no cloud, it is very tricky job, to putting the servers at your data center, to doing everything, managing at one level. It's very, big challenge. Because of cloud, we are here now. So same way, let's say when we talk about AI, machine learning, these are look like smaller things as when we talk, but when we exactly implement, right? So there we need interference of the different companies. Here we see in current organization, when we talk about APIs in messaging, it helps millions of the customer across the globe, because one click, one API can give you a complete access of the mobility solution. So similar way, without technology, you know taking help from companies like Akamai, companies like whoever is available across the globe, it's not possible. I believe we have to collaborate each other, and whatever our expertise is there, we have to do that one only. Rest of the things can be outsourced or can be taken from somewhere else.
Thanks, Brigesh. Collaboration, that's a very good piece of advice. We have just a few minutes left, so I'm going to ask each of you just one last question as a closing remark, which is we have many founders out there in the audience, aspiring founders. What is one piece of advice you would give them? In just maybe 30 seconds, one tip, one piece of gyan, one advice, something of that sort. Let's start with you, Vikas. Some tips for the audience, Vikas.
Be optimistic. Things will get harder before they become easier.
Things will get harder before they get easier. I think we're in a very hard time in this post-COVID phase, but I hope they get better. How about you, Shivan? What's your tip for the audience?
So don't start a startup just because you want to end your corporate life. So yes, a startup, you'll feel a lot of lows than what you feel in the corporate world.
That's very good advice. Again, Shivank, a lot of people think you can get away from the corporate life by doing a startup, but you can't work 80 hours to get away from a 40-hour work week. So that doesn't make sense. How about you, Alan? Alan, what advice would you give based on your hard-earned experience to the founders in the audience?
Yeah, one thing we should all realize is that things won't be right in the first go. So there should be a lot of iterations before you reach the ideal product or ideal scenario which you are expecting like.
Thanks, Alan. Yes, iterate because you may not get it right the first time. How about you, Brijesh? Some good gyan for you for the audience?
Definitely, I would say, like, if you have a dream, you start doing it. You have to put your everything, start doing it. You should not take a chance that I can't do. So that is what I say to audience, that you just put up the things before 40 years. You should do something. After that, whatever you want, you can do it.
Very good advice, Brijesh. Very inspiring. Don't say can't do, just go ahead and do it. How about you now, Rohanesh? Any last piece of advice you want to give our audience? Tips, insights from your experience, Rohanesh?
Sure. My only advice will be just focus on the user's experience and security. If that's delightful, everything else will follow.
Thanks so much, Vikas, Shivank, Alan, Brijesh, and Rohanesh. We're almost out of time now, but before I finish, I just want to say thanks to all the speakers. And I think 3 key takeaways from all of you are the 3 S's: scale, service, security. Aim for scale. This is a huge country and a big world out there. So go for it, go for scale. Service is important also. Look for the quality of the service, look for the quality of the insights you can get from your audience. And number 3, security. These are times of very difficult breaches in security, etc. So keep security in mind. So keep the opportunity and threat both on your radar and you will succeed. On that note, thank you all very much on behalf of all of us at Your Story. Once again, thanks to Vikas, Shivank, Alan, Brijesh, and Rohanesh. Have a very good day. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.